Hi, I'm Greg Andrick, and welcome to the Business Freedom Conversation Live. So, this is something we do every month that you can ask questions and hear information that'll improve your business. Here we are in November of 2022, and we've got several subjects to talk about. Of course, life always gets in the way. Here we are starting, and my gardener is mowing the lawn outside the window. I think that's something like Murphy's Law or whatever. So today we're going to talk about pricing because pricing is going to become increasingly more interesting, difficult, and complex as we go through the different economic items we're going through. And then we're going to talk about the economy, just where it's going, because there's a lot of conflicting numbers and issues that are going on right now, that it's hard to read what's happening in the economy. Now, I have a guest planned, Keith Cothrell, the tax attorney. He isn't on yet, so hopefully Keith is okay and he'll come along by the time we get to his presentation and discussion. Everybody's kind of interested to see how they're going to implement a lot of these new tax laws, particularly the one everybody's interested in is the 87,000 new IRS agents that are going to be looking at us very carefully. So, why don't I start my presentation, and we can get to there to Keith when he shows up. And if he doesn't, then we'll go on and talk about what's happening with the economy. With the election that we had, it seems more likely that these things that were in Build Back Better, that was a lot of tax laws in Build Back Better, and the Inflation Reduction Act, which really had nothing to do with reducing inflation, but everything to do about certain stimuluses and taxes. So let me start. One thing I like to do when we start one of these is, if anybody out there can tell us where you're from. It's always interesting to know where everybody is from, and know the areas that we're serving when we do this live stream. And I just want to remind you that the live stream will be posted on the YouTube channel, which is Greg Andrick Business Freedom Conversation. And we break it into the various segments, and those segments are searchable. So if you think of something that it might be applicable to you, you can search them and go right to the 5-10 minutes, whatever it is that is in the subject area you're interested in. So with no further ado, let me go to my presentation on pricing in an inflationary environment. So we all want to look like this guy with the stack of money, that you've priced your product correctly, the customers are coming to buy from you, and you got cash in hand. That's the objective. But what's happening is certain parts of the economy are going down. When we get to the economy section, you'll see a lot of the indicators. And the interesting thing is for us to forecast what we're doing and have a positive effect on the business. Hold on a second. Keith says he's here. Let me find him. Okay, how do you get in? So I'll just tell him in the text. Oops. All right. Can't post the comments. How wonderful. It's one of those days. So, but anyhow, Keith, you'll have to log in and then I can let you in. It's not letting me post anything. So, the problem becomes is, as the economy slows down, and it will, because real estate's slowing down. Real estate is the largest industry because of everything that it affects. And it's just not real estate. It affects all those things that go into housing: appliances, carpets, cabinets, you name it. When people stop buying houses, and because of that, contractors stop building them, it has a very large effect on the economy. It usually takes several months for it to it usually takes several months for it to develop. That's the word I was trying to think of. And so, in developing these issues, your pricing becomes more difficult. And hold on just a quick second. Um, I don't know what's happening here. All right, so let's try this. So the thing that they're talking about is price elasticity. And price elasticity is figuring out where your goods and services are. And the problem becomes things are changing. During the pandemic, the prices were mostly inelastic. They didn't change. When prices went up or prices changed, the demand for them didn't change. That's what price elasticity is about. And because things are changing, because the economy is slowing in certain areas, it becomes really critical to figure out if your products are becoming more elastic. In other words, based upon the change in your price, the amount of the demand goes down. Usually it goes down when the price goes up. That's the normal model that people experience with price elasticity. And what's happening is price elasticity is changing because during the pandemic, prices were very inelastic, probably because of the stimulus checks and all of these other things that go on. And um, the lawn's getting mowed very really well. So let's move on and talk about this a little bit more. It becomes important to know where is your product or service in the marketplace. Uh, that means looking at what your competition is, who your customers. We're going to repeat these things over and over and over again. I think it becomes really important to have your sales data available and that you be extremely familiar with your sales data, what products and services you're selling, what the price points are, what the volumes are, and who the customers are, and whatever that one needs to do to figure out what the customers are. Um, Hold on a quick second. Here we go. Um, so this we're going to repeat over and over again. And hold on, I'm going to invite Keith into. He's just showed up. There we go. Compose. Keith. Sorry about this slight delay. Anyhow, this becomes really critical to be on top of this data on a constant basis. And if you don't have the capability in your business, there are a lot of other ways to get this data on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, whatever your sales cycle is, whatever the best way it is to figure out where you are. And Keith, I just sent you the login. So the next thing about this is this is the super critical part. Who is your ideal customer? And that takes a little bit of research and that takes knowing the customer. But I'm sure you all get surveys like I do. You buy anything, you're getting surveys. Those tend to be larger companies, and there's a company called Qualtrics that really started all this. But however you get it, this becomes really critical because, and we'll talk about this a little more in a few minutes, the majors are doing this, and the majors are having changes in who their customers are, and they're having huge results. But it becomes really important to know this and see if it's changing. So it isn't something, it's a one and done type of deal, that this probably needs to be done 1 to 4 times a year. And it's not like a huge task, but to like pull who you're selling to and kind of take a look at it and know and adjust your market. It's going to be really critical, particularly if the economy slows down really far. What are your customers' alternatives? It's another way for saying who's your competition. And it becomes interesting to see why your customers are buying you. That's the next question. Why does your customer buy? When you know who the competition is and you know who the customer, your customer is, and find out that critical piece of information of why they buy. Why are they buying you instead of the other guy? And then what one does with that is to expand on that. So if you've got something unique going on and a certain group likes it, let's say, you sell art supplies and you find out that teachers love this one product line of yours. Well, that's what you expand. And that's how you stay ahead of the game here in this stagflation environment that we're probably already in. We're probably one of the most interesting places ever in American economic history because you have the majors pretty much doing really well. And we're going to get into this, but there's a lot of smoke signals that they're preparing for. So a new thing is coming up besides price elasticity, and it's called precision pricing. And the precision pricing is kind of the crux of all this analysis of who your customer is, who your competition is, why your customers are buying. The whole set of data becomes really important. And of course, we love an anachronism. Well, you know what I'm talking about. Determine. So the first thing one needs to do for precision pricing is determine your actual costs and profit. Really, it's the old fashioned. You need to know which products have what gross margin. Uh, that's really critical for pushing the sales, for surviving. And when we come into, if we're going to have a stagflation environment that lasts a couple of years, most real estate downturns, real estate's going to take us down, and real estate's going to lead us out, and that can take 2 to 4 years. And the last time we had a stagflation environment where things were deteriorating but prices were going up, that took 9 years to get out of. So these are things that, if they're not already in your business, need to be in the business, and these are going to really help you. It's the new thing they're talking about is enterprise profit management. And it's enterprise profit management is really looking at all these factors of what's the sales volume, what's the margin, who the customer is. If you're selling to weak customers, you can make a sale, but then they don't pay. And all of this gets bundled together. They have a term. This is from the Harvard Business Review article. They have a term called profit peaks. Well, what a profit peak is when the cost of producing the good or service is low and the margin is high. Those are the ones that one needs to exploit and capitalize on. Profit drains. I'll give you an example of a profit drain. I was a CFO of a gym chain, and when I came along, they had never done drive-by all their locations. They'd never done demographics, and they actually didn't even do individual P&Ls by each location. They just looked at revenue and they thought, okay, if revenue's okay, we must be okay. Well, when I put it together, individual locations, they had just bought 2 racquetball clubs. And the 2 racquetball clubs were massive losers. They were profit drains, because think about it. You can only get 4 people in a fairly large space on a racquetball court. That's the maximum. And most of the time it's only 2 people. But in a regular gym space, you can fit many more people. And then the whole thing about gyms is people can pay the dues and never show up, and that's another thing to capitalize on. But there's an example. The racquetball club versus a regular gym is a profit drain. Profit deserts. So profit deserts are the things you're doing that don't make you any money. And if you don't do a P&L by a product line, you're going to get into some profit deserts where the costs and the margins just aren't worth doing it, and you need to get out of that business. And that's like getting out of whole lines of businesses. Again, the data is not hard to come by. And if you don't have the accounting capability, it's easy today to get it. There's lots of fractional shops. There's virtual assistants in India, Philippines, South America, you name it. And those people can spend a few minutes a day for a really low cost and put your numbers together, because everything's electronic these days. And I highly recommend that you get these pieces put together and you know where you are on a regular basis. So this slide, I apologize, is a little bit busy, but the underlying message is to focus on the profit peak. Hunt for the right customers. So here's an interesting thing, and these are the real life examples to go by. So just today in the Wall Street Journal, Walmart reported that their revenue is up 8.7%. They are the largest company in the world by transaction. And when a company that big can drive revenue that much, I think we all need to listen and take a look at that. So what happened with them is their volume went up. Why did Walmart's volume went up? Well, Walmart is now concentrating on a new set of customers. Oh, they've always had them, but they've never really exploited them. Affluent people looking for bargains. This is logical and simple, and it caused the volume. When I say the volume, that's the number of sales, not necessarily the revenue, and the gross margin went up 4.3%. That is huge for a company the size of Walmart. Their overall customer visits went up 2.1%. So what did they do? They brought in more customers that bought twice as much as the previous customers they actually added on. So that's something to look at. Now, I also have a post on Pepsi, and I have there's a Wall Street Journal video that's about 4 minutes long on my Pepsi about Pepsi. You can take a look at it in um, my feed. But Pepsi is really the star of handling stagflation, because Pepsi's revenue is up 18%. They were able, like Walmart, they concentrated on the customers who really wanted their products. And rather than doing all these promotions and getting marginal customers, they concentrated on the people that want their product, they're loyal customers, and they were able to raise the price on those customers 17%. And that gave Pepsi's a huge company, and that caused them to have a revenue increase of 18%. That's really good management. I think we should take our cues from there, that look at the things that we can do to concentrate on our key customers, to um, price at a place where the demand doesn't go down, and that can only happen with your key customer. And look at the results of these two massive bellwether American companies. It is pretty amazing. Okay.